What we've got here is, I'll just do a quick demo of something that we can do with our memory. And who's seen the memory pegs before? Anyone see that one of the last meetups I've done? I think Kathy might have seen it before. Did you see it, Gillian? You saw it? Let's run through that really quick again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if I can start over there with Casey, can you give me an object that I can put here as number 1? Because what I'm going to do is, as you say it, I'm going to peg it in my brain. And then we're going to get through all 20. And then without looking at the board again, I'm going to repeat back all 20 items. Okay, how's that sound?
Any kind of object?
Pretty good trick. Can be anything. And an object is nice and easy. We can go really quick. We just do an object.
Okay. Like flower?
Flower. Flower is a good one. Like flower the flower or a flower?
Flower.
A flower. It's the same thing, really. As long as it's flower is flower. Yeah, got it.
Red car?
A red car. Excellent. So we've got a red car. Okay, got it.
Ostrich.
Ostrich. I can't even spell that. Me challenging me. O-S-T-R-I-C-H. Is that it? Ostrich. Nobody will know? Nobody will pick on me?
Ostracized.
Alright.
You want ostracized.
Ostrich, I like it. So ostrich, number 3. Alright, yep.
I was going to say pterodactyl, but I can't even spell it. So
No, that's fine. Pterodactyl. Pterodactyl, it's a dinosaur, isn't it? One of the flying dinosaurs. Yeah. So pterodactyl, flying dinosaur. Yeah, got it.
pencil.
A pencil. Nice and simple. Pencil. Number 5. All right. Number 6. We go back to the beginning. So Kathy, right at the back.
Table.
Table. Number 6. Okay. Number 7.
Swimming pool.
Back to you. A swimming pool. Swimming pool. How's that?
Yep.
Okay. Number 7 is a swimming pool. All right, got it. Number 8.
Teapot.
Teapot. Number 8 is a teapot. All right. Number 9.
Laughing dwarf.
Laughing dwarf.
That's very specific.
Laughing.
I can't make it easy for.
Laughing dwarf. That's my dwarf. Oh, wait a sec. I've got to put it in my mind now. Okay. All right. Number 10.
An easy one. Fried chook.
Fried chook. Not fried chicken, not KFC. Fried chook. No, fried chook's fine. Fried chook. Number 10. All right. Number 11.
A book. A book.
Book. Number 11 is a book. 11 is... Oh, wait a sec. I did this one wrong. I'm going to go back to this one. Okay, got it. And number 11 is a book. Yep. All right, 12. Move up to the back.
People.
People. 12. All right. Number 13.
Dog.
There's a dog. All right. 14.
Picnic blanket.
A
Picnic blanket.
picnic blanket. Okay.
The elephant man.
Elephant man. I like it. Elephant man.
Yeah.
Not the elephant man, the elephant man. The elephant man, 15. He's the one that said she gave me water, isn't it? She gave me water.
And he was a
Yeah.
sort of circus.
Yeah, I remember. Okay, got it. All right, 16.
Camera.
Camera. Number 16 is a camera. All right, 17.
Monkey's hat.
A
Monkey's hat.
monkey's hat. Monkey's hat. All right, number 18, right at the back.
Chips.
Chips.
There's a route in Australia not to share your chips.
Okay, got it. 19.
Present.
Present. 19 is present. All right, 20.
PowerPoint.
PowerPoint. All right, interesting. Good stuff. All right, that was pretty quick, wasn't it? It took us a couple of minutes to go through that. Let's see how I did. Okay, number 1 is a flower. Number 2, I'll stand over here so you can see it better. Number 1 is a flower. Number 2 is a red car. Number 3 is an ostrich. Number 4 is a pterodactyl. Number 5 is a pencil. Number 6. What's number 6? Was a table. Number 7 was a pool. Is it more descriptive than a pool? It was more than a pool, wasn't it? Was it a big pool, an outdoor pool, a swimming pool? Swimming pool, that's what it was. Number 8 was a teapot. Number 9 was, oh my goodness, what was floating in that one? I'll come back to 9. Number 10 was fried chicken, fried chook. Number 11 was book. Number 12 was people. Number 13 was dog. Number 14 was a picnic blanket. Number 15 was the elephant man, the elephant man. Number 16 was a camera. Number 17 was a monkey's hat. Number 18 was chips. Number 19 was a present, and number 20 was a power plug or PowerPoint.
So I won the prize.
What was that?
You didn't get mine. So
I didn't get number
So
9.
he's going to go back to it.
Yeah, let me go back to number 9.
you're not going to get
Something floating in the water. It was an interesting one. Was it a monkey? There was something like that. No, it was a dwarf. It was some sort of dwarf. Wasn't it? A laughing one.
You got it as well.
A laughing dwarf.
Very
That was. Okay, so there you go. That was a laughing dwarf, was that one. I remember the dwarf, but I was thinking, what was he doing? He was doing something, he was laughing. Okay, so now pick any number randomly. And I'll tell you what it was. So just pick any number.
101.
No, any number up here, between 0 and 20. Or between 1 and 20, sorry. Any number there.
18.
Number 18 is chips.
17.
Number 17 is monkey's hat.
4.
Number 4 is pterodactyl.
10.
Number 10 is fried chook. That was yours too. Number 12 is people.
5.
What was it?
Nothing. I didn't say.
What number between 1 and 20? Pick a number.
Number 11.
Number 11 is book. Okay, so now name the item and I'll tell you what number it is. Any item up on this board?
Pencil.
Pencil is number 5.
Picnic blanket.
Picnic blanket is number 14.
Dog.
Dog is number 13.
Teapot.
Teapot is number 8.
Red car.
Red car is number 2.
Ostrich.
Ostrich is number 3. That's it. You convinced I've got them?
Yep.
Okay, so I've pegged them, but notice how they're not in order. So I've actually pegged each one independently from every other one. So that's a skill called memory pegs, and it's something that I can teach people how to do. It's actually not that difficult when you understand how the mind works and how association works. Okay, good party trick?
That's excellent. Very impressive.
Good fun. So, and I think, this is terrible. I'll try the other one. All right, so that's where I thought we'd start with just a little demonstration, just to say I can actually do memory stuff. Because isn't it better to learn off somebody who can actually do something rather than somebody who, just talks about it?
Does it work when you go to a meetup and you get introduced to 20 people? You can't even remember one of their names.
Oh, well, let's
That was one of the things I said. I
Uh-huh.
couldn't remember people's names.
No, I can't either. No, it's so embarrassing.
I'm pretty good at faces, but no, especially in a big group.
Yeah.
Oh, this is terrible. These don't even... Is there any paper here anywhere? These have been used over and over again, and they no longer rub out. That's right. That'll have to be the best we can do. All right. But very good. So my name's Joshua Roy. I've been running seminars and life coaching for the last 3.5 years. It's something that I love to do. I love to share these ideas, these thoughts with other people. And most of all, I love to see other people make progress, whether it be in memory or whether it be in some other area or part of their life. As a life coach, I help people in 4 main areas of their life. So one of those areas is physical health and well-being. Another one of those areas is relationships. Another one of those areas is finances, or looking after money and your relationship with money. And another one is spirituality, or purpose and direction in life. Those are the 4 areas. But under all of those, and the basis of what I do is based on NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming, NAC, which is Neuro-Associative Conditioning, and the last one is Neurological Repatterning. And so using these 3 tools, so to speak, or these 3 ways of teaching and training, I'm able to help people to make changes not just in their behaviour, but internal changes in their mind. What's interesting about the mind is it can actually change shape. That if we reach a state of neuroplasticity, what happens is your brain becomes malleable, and your brain can actually change. And so something that you weren't good at in the past, you could then see it with fresh eyes and actually master that skill, whatever it is. So you can go from not being able to do something to being able to do something quite effectively. And that's what I love about this, is that once people get a belief shift, it's more valuable, I think, than just learning a new skill with your current beliefs. So we go deep and we go into belief systems and belief shifts, and I love doing that sort of things with people. The application of it is that I've worked with people with pain, and we've gotten rid of some of that pain or eliminated it to a degree. I've worked with people who have other problems or issues. One man I worked with was a quadriplegic, and he couldn't move anything from his waist down. He could move his left arm a little bit. We increased the motion of that arm, and also I was able to get him to wiggle his toe using just these techniques. So it was very exciting stuff. To think that even though there's a physical condition that says this is impossible, the mind is so powerful that if you believe, it can find a way, and that healing is possible. Okay, so these are the things that I teach and things that I believe. Now, when it comes to memory, I guess my journey started many years ago. And before I get started, I'll just tell you a few quick anecdotes. And for this, I'm using a technique called Memory Palace. If you ever heard of that, because I'll explain a bit later what that is. So, here we go. Have you ever noticed that creditors have better memories than debtors? It's true, isn't it? Did you know that marriage is the alliance of 2 people? One that never remembers birthdays and one that never forgets them. You ever walked into the kitchen and forgot why you're there, but you think to yourself, maybe there's a clue in the fridge? One woman said that she has an amazing ability to forget. And I like that, because you're born with 10 to 12 billion brain cells. And the number of connections that you have or potentially can have in your brain are almost virtually unlimited. In fact, you've got more potential connections in your brain than there are grains of sand on every beach, on every ocean floor, and every desert on planet Earth. Did you know that? That's how incredible your brain is. People remember the Good Samaritan but they don't remember it because he had good intentions. They remember it because he had money. Some people mistake a short memory for a clear conscience. Homer Simpson it was who said this. He said, everything's bad if you remember it. One woman said, I'm going to remember your name and then throw my head away. Have you ever noticed that nothing lodges itself so deeply in your mind as the intent to forget it? Like, you never know how good your memory is until you try to forget something. There was one man in a relationship, he said that my wife accuses me of only being interested in one thing, but I can't remember what that is. And there was one man that said that the older you get, the faster you ran as a child. So anyway, there's just a few little anecdotes and a few little, I guess, jokes about memory. And the way I was able to present all those was using a technique called the memory palace. And so in my house, there's a number of objects, there's a number of bits of furniture, and I put one of those anecdotes on each of those items of furniture. And all I have to do is think of the object in my house, and I've linked it or associated it to that little saying or that little quote. And so that's how I was able to do those. And I could actually do those again in the same order, because it's tied in to each piece of furniture. So that's another memory technique that we can use called the memory palace. Interesting? So these are all techniques that we can all practice and we can all get good at. But the first thing we've got to do is discover, well, why do we want it? So for me, it actually goes back to when I was 14 years old. I was sitting in a seminar, and it was only a small seminar. There was probably maybe 20, 30 people in the room. And at this seminar, I saw a demonstration just like you saw me do with 20 objects. And a woman was able to go through and do those 20 objects in any order, exactly the way I did it just then. She didn't do it the way I did it. She sat down and somebody else wrote it up, and she just memorised, whereas I do both now. I can do this, I can write it on the board, and I can memorise, do it all at the same time. So I've sort of been practicing this for a long time. But when I saw her do that, I was so impressed. I was just really impressed. And I thought, wouldn't that be great? Like, would that lead me towards success in life? I knew that assignments would be due. I knew that exams would come up in school as a 14-year-old child. And I thought, this is going to help me to be really successful in life if I develop a good memory. And so I started memorising things, and I started using the techniques that he taught me. I'm going to share with you a few of those tonight. Now, as I began using them, the time came for me to be out in front of people. And my first time of actually doing it at a live event, I remember sitting down and I was sweating. I was like a bit nervous. Who would be nervous if they had to do that 20 items? Would you be nervous? Would you be like, okay. Even if you practiced it like 20 times and you nailed it every time. When you're out in front of people, it's a whole different feeling, right? And the nerves sort of kick in. Well, they did with me. I was about 14, 15 years old, and I sat there and I did really well, except for there was one item that I missed. So I got 19 correct and I missed one. Couldn't get it. And it was twist drill. At that age, I didn't even really know what a twist drill was. I knew what a drill was, but I didn't know what a twist drill was. But I kind of realised it's almost the same thing. But a twist drill was the one that I missed. And now how is it that 25 years later I can still remember that? Why is it I can still remember? I can't remember any of the 19 that I got correct, but I remember the failure. So what happened when I failed, I actually felt terrible. I felt this really negative feeling. I was like, I worked so hard on this, and here I am failing. Now, isn't it true that when we get a high level of emotionality, when we feel an emotion, whether positive or negative, something happens in our mind. The memory locks into our mind on a deeper level. Okay, and that's the power of memory. So if any of you come here and think you've got a bad memory, who thinks they've got a bad memory? Anyone think they've got a bad memory? Incorrect. You have an outstanding memory. You have an outstanding memory. Every one of us do. We've actually got a good memory. What we may have is an untrained memory, but we all have the capacity and the ability to remember. And we're going to talk about exactly how we can increase or improve our memory. And that's what we're going to do tonight. Now, the second story I want to share with you was I was working in a service station. I'm about 22 years of age. And it's 4 a.m. in the morning, 3:30, 4 a.m., somewhere around that time. And a man came in with a horrified look on his face. like he'd just seen a ghost. And he walks up to me at the counter. He said, "You're not going to believe what just happened." I said, "What's going on?" He said, "Turn on the radio." I turned on the radio and I found out that over in America, some planes had run into some buildings. Who knows what I'm talking about? Okay, September 11, all right?
How old were you?
I wasn't working at the time. How old was I? About 22, I think. I was. Yeah. So I was about 22, working at a service station, and I remember that, and then suddenly this feeling came over me. Like, why would anybody do this? Horrible feeling. And then I remember that sleep fled from my eyes. I finished my shift at 6 a.m. I went home, turned on the TV, and for the next 6 hours I watched this scene, and I wasn't even tired. Tiredness had fled from my eyes. Now, wouldn't I be tired? I've been awake all night, probably most of the day before. Normally after night shift, I'm barely staying awake on the drive home. But this time something was different. Something was different. That emotion kicked in, and suddenly I was able to, and I still remember it today, as if it had just happened. It's so clear in my mind.
I didn't even believe it when I saw it on TV.
Yes.
I thought, this must be some TV show.
And that disbelief and the emotion that was with it, you're like, it's horrifying. It's just like, is this a Hollywood thing? Is this make-believe? Are we to believe this? Okay, now the reason you remember that is because, like I said before, the high emotionality. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about why we remember certain things and why we don't. Some people have a good memory for numbers. Some people have a good memory for faces. Some people do remember names. We've all got these different abilities to remember. But if you can remember that event, something with high emotionality, you've got a great memory. What you may have is an untrained memory in those other areas. And so all we need to do is recognise it, where that deficiency is in our memory, and then train our memory to be better. You know, if you can think logically and if your brain's working, then you can remember. You can remember. And we're going to talk about some techniques that we can use to enhance or improve our memory skills. For me though, what I wanted to be was to do this, what I'm doing today, public speaking, presenting. And so I remember sitting, I was in church one time and I'm sitting there and this man got up for 20 minutes and he just gave this most amazing sermon. Stories, scriptures, everything, and it just flowed. It flowed effortlessly and easily out of his mouth. And it wasn't rubbish, it was all good. It was meaningful, deep. The quotes were interesting. He had quotes from people, quotes from other places. And it was very, very deep and complex. And I was sitting there in awe. And I thought, I want to do that. I want to be like that. And so I found out another skill, which is called a visual stack. And that's what I use today when I'm doing presentations. So I use different things. I actually use the memory palace to memorize my jokes. I use a visual stack technique to memorize my talks, or to memorize the order and the flow of the talks. And I use memory pegs for other things like a shopping list or whatever else. You can use any technique you want, but I actually use different techniques for different things for different reasons, and I find that works for me, and you can choose whatever works for you. But if you've never heard of those techniques, we're right at the bottom, we're right at the base, so let's begin and let's start putting these things together. There's three parts of memory. Well, there's three types of memory. First of all, we've got a sensory memory, then we've got a short-term memory, and then a long-term memory. Sensory, short-term, long-term. Now, sensory is something that we experience, something experiential. We could be walking along and a breeze hits your face. That's an experience. So you will log a little memory of that it was cold a certain day. That as I was walking along, this wind hit me in the face, it was very cold. You may not be thinking about it, but your body records it. Your body records everything that's going on. Like I said before, we're born with between 12 to 14 billion brain cells. There's about 2 million bits of information that comes in every second through your 5 senses. That is your visual, your auditory, your kinesthetic, your feelings. So your skin, the breeze as it hits you, your olfactory and gustatory, smell and taste. So through those 5 senses, about 2 million chunks of information comes in. It's coming at you. However, we're only aware of a small amount. We can't take it all in at once, not into our conscious working memory. And so what happens is all of this goes into the unconscious mind. Now, when they take people into hypnosis and do a thing called regression therapy, they can actually go back, and if you've walked past a tree they can actually go into your mind and you can work out how many leaves are on that tree. Your mind records all of this information, but it does it unconsciously. You're not doing it, you're like you walk past 10 cars, you've actually seen the number plates somewhere in your vision. You don't consciously think about it as you're walking past, unless you're a trained assassin or something like that, unless you train yourself to do that, but most people walk along and they're unconscious about these things. So it's not that we don't see them, we're just unconscious. However, we unconsciously take in information. So the information's all there. Now, how we get that information or how we recall that information is another thing. So let's look at the three parts of memory. The first part is preparation, or I should say early learning state. What we want to do is we want to go into an early learning state. And what do I mean by this? If you think back to when you were 7 or 5 years of age, if you can think back that far, your brain was like a sponge, soaking up the world around you. Children learn at a phenomenal rate, at a phenomenal pace, way faster than adults learn. And often because they're learning things for the very first time. So a child in a multilingual neighbourhood, for example, can learn 2, 3 or even 4 languages. And they do it effortlessly, without even trying. All they're doing is playing with their friends, having fun, and suddenly they can speak and understand different languages. It's incredible. But that's their brain. Now, what happens is, as we get older, we lose this ability unless we train ourselves to go back to an early learning state. And there's ways we can do that. One way we do it is through regression. And that's the way I was talking about with hypnosis. We can regress a person back to an earlier state. Okay, back to one of those early states. The second way is drug of choice. Now, drug of choice could actually be an hallucinogen drug, could be an illicit or an illegal drug. Now, if somebody has an experience with a drug, that experience is actually recorded in your brain. And what they've done with regression therapy and similar things is they've triggered that, fired it off, and the person can have the exact same physiological response as if they'd just taken that drug again. Your brain remembers everything. Everything you've experienced is remembered, it's recorded, and it's actually there for recall if we know how. Now, the other part of drug of choice is, let's not talk about illicit or illegal drugs. However, our own drugs, we have things like serotonin and dopamine and these other chemicals that release into our brain. Now, if we can revisit an early learning state, we can actually fire off those chemical reactions. And those things can actually come back at will. Now, when there's chemicals going around in your brain, guess what? Memory, or the ability to remember, increases. It actually goes up. Okay, if you're bored out of your head, memory may not be as good. If you're focusing elsewhere, memory's not good. If it's just normal, think about the days that are normal and ordinary. Do you remember them? It's just like run-of-the-mill, like just the same. It's Groundhog Day, right? It's just over and over. It's the repetition of those days, and sometimes you can't remember any of it. But when something big happened, you remember it. When there's a big incident, what are some big incidences that you remember really clearly? Who can tell me?
Getting married.
Getting married. What else?
A child.
Having a child. Getting married, having a child. Death. So 2 very positive ones, 1 very negative one. Potentially negative. Could be a positive one. If the person's in a lot of pain, it might be a saving grace. So, and depending on your spiritual belief, death can actually be a good thing. It's a transition. It's an exclamation mark. It's not a full stop. So depending on your spiritual belief, death could be a positive. But in most cases in the Western society, it is a negative thing. It's it's terrible. What else?
Just notice when you're getting a lot of new stimuli, like moving to a different state, a different signal.
Ah, yes.
Time slows down.
Yes.
You sort of remember things as well.
So
But also the time, because there's so many different
Yes.
stimuli you're not used to.
Yes.
It's sort of like, it's not like every day goes by and you don't remember.
Yeah.
Get used to it, but
Yeah.
every day so much happens, but time
Correct.
sort of seems to stand still.
Yeah.
It's sort of, it goes really slowly. Now time goes really fast because I'm sort my head for the
Time for a change.
Yeah.
Time to uproot and start somewhere else.
Yes.
But I like that. That's really good. Anyone else? What other incidences are really locked into your memory tightly? A holiday. Yeah, why?
Out of the ordinary.
Okay, what we're looking at is emotion. You see, when there's incidents of high emotionality, what happens is we remember. Memory is actually enhanced when there's a lot of emotion involved. We can all remember those, you know, that negative and the positive, the really big things that happen in our lives. We can all remember that. And that's because of high emotionality. And so what we can do is we can simulate these things. We can simulate them in the here and now in order to increase our memory. So we go back into what's called an early learning state, which is all these things, and we use our imagination. Children have a phenomenal ability to use their imagination. You know, they'll get a pencil out and horses are pink. They don't care. It doesn't matter if they're not pink. To them, they're pink, and they'll draw whatever colour they want. They live in this imaginary world. They have imaginary friends. I used to have an imaginary friend, but he used to play with the kid across the street. So I was like, all right, we'll catch up later. Bye. I'm just kidding. All right, so we've got all these things, early learning states. Now, this is our preparation stage. So we've got 3 things we want to do. We want to prepare first. Then the second stage is installation. After we prepared ourselves, we go into the installation phase. Okay, so, actually one more thing here. We've also got nonsensical, or funny or bizarre. So I'll put bizarre there as well. Now why would I put these things here? Because if you can use your imagination and make something nonsensical or bizarre, or you can play music in the back and make a rap of it. I know one person, and if he wants to remember stuff, he makes a rap of the stuff he wants to remember. He just makes up a rap and he remembers the stuff because he's using this technique of making it bizarre and interesting and fun. He's dancing around while he does it, using his body. Motion creates emotion. So if you use your body, do it at home. You know, you don't have to be in public where people can see you. But, so all these things can help us in preparation. We should put preparation stage. Preparation. All right, any questions about that? Does that make sense? So what we're doing is we're regressing. We wanted to go back to the time when we were between 5 or 7 years of age in our mind. If we can get ourselves to go back there and enter an early learning state, then we can increase our ability to remember. And these are some techniques to do it. In that demonstration that I did just before, I used this nonsensical and bizarre. I saw a little baby with bits of chicken for toes walking along. Okay? And that was number 10. Because there's 10 toes, right? So I saw bits of chicken sticking, and that's just me being bizarre and nonsensical, but it helps me remember what that number was, what that was. I saw 2 cars side by side going up to Noah. You know Noah and the Ark? 2 animals side by side. There was 2 red cars pulling up. And so he was, you know, okay, and he ushered them onto the Ark. All right, so that's a way that I remembered that red car was number 2. All right, what was another one? There was 15, the Elephant Man. I saw a monkey's tail wrapped around the Elephant Man, and he was dragging him along by his neck. Okay, and that's how I remembered number 15 was the Elephant Man. I know this is quite difficult to make sense of, but that's what I do in my mind to then lock these things into my memory. So if they're bizarre, if they're nonsensical, if they're unusual, it's easy to do it. And I'm using my imagination a lot through that whole process. I'm imagining things. I'm imagining, you know, a picnic mat was sitting on this tar. There was tar on the road, and I had a picnic mat stuck in the tar. A picnic. What's that?
How long before you forget that list?
How long before I forget? Well, I can actually layer things straight over the top of it. That's only my short-term memory. Remember, we've got 3 parts of the memory. We've got sensory, we've got short-term. I've only put it in my short-term memory. If we want something to go into our long-term memory, what we need is repetition. What we need is spaced repetition. So that's the only way to get it from short-term to long-term, is you've got to repeat it, because you will forget. And oftentimes with names, the reason we don't remember Long term is we might not see the person for a while, and we don't go through our books and go, oh, I remember that person, that's right, that's John. If we did that every year, we'd probably remember those names. So we ran into those old friends again. It's gone from short-term to long-term memory, okay, because we're using a principle called spaced repetition. Does that make sense? Yeah, that's what we want to do. Okay, any thoughts, comments, questions?
So tomorrow morning you'll forgot that list?
No, I can remember it tomorrow morning. I can remember it maybe next week. Going beyond that, if I don't go over it, if I went over it every day for a week, I could remember it for a month, 2 months, 6 months. You know, if I wanted to and started doing spaced repetition, I could remember that list forever. But it depends if I want to. Because I don't want to remember that list, because it's not going to be relevant for my future in my life, I'll forget it and do this demonstration again with 20 new objects, and I'll just layer it straight over the top. Once I've laid it over the top, the old ones can just go away. They can disappear into the unknown. There's no...
It's overcrowded.
Yeah, but there's no... I'm wondering if that's more a belief system than it is anything else. And oftentimes if it's overcrowded, do you want to know the best way to do it when it's overcrowded? There's a principle, and this isn't even what I was going to teach tonight. There's a principle called chunking. Have you heard of chunking?
Yeah.
So chunking is simply a way of ordering the things that we have to do. So let's say in your world you have, your business over here, and you've got all these things you've got to do for your business. All this, all this, all this. That's your business, right? And then you've got these other things that have to do with your family. I've got these things have to do with my, whatever else is in my life, and you just start getting this mess of all this jumbled stuff over here. Okay, and then I've got to feed my pet, and then I've got to, and you start getting out of control. Like there's an overwhelm happening. So many things. You've got family commitments, you've got work commitments, you've got, I don't know if you're part of a community group or a church, you've got the commitments there, and it just gets overwhelming. So the way we do it is, we take some of those items and we say, well, this is work, this is family, this is recreation and sport, and this is memory or something like that. I don't know, just to be quick with it. But all we do is we cut it down to 4 things. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then what we do is we look at the outcome. So what is my outcome for work? What is my outcome for family? What is my outcome for health? What is my outcome for this? And then we work on the outcome. And then we choose those items which are going to lead us to our outcome. I mean, that's a really simplistic way of doing it. But otherwise, you get all these things in your head. The other way to do it is get them down on paper. Get them down on a task list, get them down on something like that so that you can look at it, you can see it, and you can start working out and prioritise which are the most important, which ones can be put off. And I'm sure you've got strategies to do all that, but this is one way to do it. And so instead of having 100 things or 200 things, you cut it down to 4 things. You cut it down to the main areas of your life, and then you say, well, right now I'm finished work, so I'm going to leave work there. Okay, I'm going to write down, oh wait, I just got a thought, I've got to do that tomorrow, I've got to do that tomorrow. Write it down on paper, then put it down. Once it's on paper, you can get it out of your head and you can focus then on a different part of your life. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Although if it stays in your head, then you're thinking about that while you should be present with whatever situation with. Who's been in a situation you're present with a partner, or you're there with a partner but you're not present because you're still thinking about work or you're still thinking about some other commitment, and you really want to get it done, and they come in. Actually, my wife does it to me when I get too involved. She comes and stands in front of me and she makes me look at her and stuff, and I'm just going to finish this, I'm just going to get this, and she'll just demand, and no, then I go, okay, no worries. I'll leave that. I can catch it up later. Okay, because that thought will come back to my mind. Peg it in my mind, boom, leave it, and then go. For many of you, it'll be writing down. Some of the techniques I use is I just stick it in a little box or a little place in my brain, and then I know that I can come back to it. I've stopped doing task lists. I used to use task lists. I don't do it anymore. I just log everything, catalogue it in my brain, and it's funny, my brain will just tell me when I need to do something. Oh, okay, no worries, and I go do it. It's just training. So I've trained my brain to, because I got sick of the task list. I was just going task after task after task. It was so draining. Who does lists?
I love them
Yeah, you love task lists?
for everything.
Yeah. And they do help. They help you keep on track.
Yeah.
But at some point I was just
I guess
thinking,
that's my way of sort of feeling like I'm keeping control. 'cause of-
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So it could be a control mechanism or, okay. And there's nothing wrong with task lists. They're really good. They will help you. And to be fair, sometimes I do go back and I write it out because I have
I
to.
suppose in a way, listening to what you're saying, it's also enabling your brain, your memory to be lazy because
Yes.
you're writing it down.
Yes.
So I don't have to remember because it's now written down. So yeah.
The interesting thing that they're coming out now with, and this is scientists in the modern age, are actually saying that people are becoming more stupid, so less intelligent. And why? It's because of the reliance upon technology. So what we do is we take a photo of things instead of writing it down, instead of committing it to memory, take a photo of it.
Numbers, we don't have to remember phone.
You don't have to remember a phone number. Who knows their own phone number?
I do. I've had this.
Who knows more than 5 phone numbers?
I
Yeah. Would you?
Yeah.
We just don't need to.
No.
We don't need to. We just simply go contact there, that person, and away we go.
It's the same as street names.
Yep.
You've got GPS.
Yes.
You don't need to remember
Correct.
where you're going anymore.
Correct.
Just listen to left, right.
Yeah, absolutely. So these devices can actually make us more stupid and instead of more intelligent. We feel like we're more intelligent because we know everything. Oh, Google, what does this? What is this? And we can just Google everything.
Answer to that.
So we do. We've got answers. You think about 20 years ago. Somebody asked you a question, you'd have to go to the library, look it up. Now you just go, oh, there we go. The price of rice in China is, and we've got the answer right there. We know it. Okay, so is that helpful? Is that useful? Okay, a bit of information there. All right, let's go into the next one is installation. What do I mean by installation? The first thing we consider is mental dynamics. I've also pegged and locked all this into my brain as well. So when I do a presentation, it's all like just catalogued in there, and I'll just go through the list. So mental dynamics, what we're talking about with mental dynamics is flexibility of mind. We're talking about our ability to be able to change and shift and rearrange. This nonsensical and bizarre, that helps with the installation. That helps big time. In fact, that probably should be over here. All right, so what we're doing is we're getting our imagination, our emotions, drug of choice, regression. Then we go over here and we've got this nonsensical bizarre. We do that with the installation. So I actually used that technique while I was installing. So you were telling me the word, I was installing the information, I was using mental dynamics to do that. Okay, and trying to make it interesting. If you do the same thing each time, your brain will not remember it. But if you do something different every time, like some scenes that I do, I just put blood everywhere and I just make it really like graphical. Other times I put a lot of action in it. Put a lot of action in it. Pulls out a gun, there's something violent going on. With that pen, that pencil, you told me number 5, I saw a police badge and that pen was, the pencil was sticking, was on top of the police badge. It was a big giant pen. Okay, so graphical, action, anything to do with action. Those 2 cars, driving up to go on the ark, that was movement, that was action. So any of that sort of thing, that's what we want. Movement, action, those types of things. And the last one, or the last part is recall. So how do we recall something? Well, one of the first ways to do is association. In fact, when we're installing, association is great. If we can associate one thing with something that we know. If you learn something new, some new information, then you may easily forget it unless you relate it to something. If you think about back to Jesus of Nazareth, the way he taught was he used a lot of parables. Now, if you don't know what a parable is a story with a purpose. So he would use stories to teach. Brilliant way of teaching. See, instead of talking about doing missionary work, for example, he talked about going fishing. And he said, I'll make you a fisher of men. Very, very interesting language and very, very interesting way of teaching that concept. But they knew how to fish. You see, they were all fishermen, or about half of them were. There was a tax collector and a few others. But these fishermen thought to themselves, a fisher of men. I've got a lure and send it out, and then I reel the fish in. Oh, in the same way, he wants me to go out and convert and teach them. Got it. And then made sense of it. He'd go to talk to people and he'd talk about trees. And he'd talk about how a seed grows. And that's like faith. Faith starts off as a seed and then it grows. And so we'd use all these different concepts in the real world to explain ideas. And so if you're going to learn something, then a good way to do it is to make a story out of it, or compare it to something that you know. What you're doing when you're learning something is you're taking the unknown and you're trying to bring it in and understand the unknown, and it's really difficult if there's nothing for it to attach to. But if you can explain how some unknown idea is like an orange, you know what an orange is. You know an orange, you squeeze it, you get orange juice out of it. You can open it up. You can see it inside. It's the colour orange. It's very simple to understand. If you can explain how some foreign thing is like an orange, then you can start to make a connection. Okay, I see. Or the show, what was it? Shrek. How he said that ogres are like layers, like an onion. You know, he's trying to teach or trying to share some information with the donkey, and he's saying an onion's like, you know, ogre's like an onion. He said, what, they stink? What they, you know, he wasn't getting it, and he was saying, no, they've got layers. And that's the concept he was trying to teach. Make sense? So we shared the unknown with something that we know through association. So that's the first one, association. How do I spell that? Is it A-S-S?
Yeah, I-C.
O-C. I got it wrong. Let me try again. Association. So that's what we use, association. Okay, that's the first one. Now the second thing we learn, oh, I should have put in here, spatially located. If you think about the memory palace I was telling you about, where there's objects in my house that I put an item on, or a joke on, or something on, that's spatially located. So when you think about that space, you can think about it. So when in the recall, what we do is we think about the space. We think about space, time, or places. I should have put places. Get rid of space. Time and places. So if we think about a place, if we also think about what happened before and after, so that's where we use time. So what happened before the event? Like, what did you do at 12 o'clock? If you go back and remember what you did at 11 o'clock and you can remember that, then you go, okay, I was here at 11. Where did I go then? Oh, that's right. And you'll start to recall it. You ever done that when you're trying to think and remember and recall something? You'll go before, you'll go after, you try some different things. Who was I with? What were we talking about? And you start to remember the situations around it, and then you can start to get a clearer picture of the actual event, of actually what happened. Or emotion, you could revisit the emotion, think, oh, how was I feeling at the time? Oh, that's right, I was elated, I was really happy. If you go back to that same sort of happy feeling, that can also trigger your memory to then bring that situation back. Okay, there's a few ways that we do it. Is there any more?
Visually, I try and do it visually. Like if I'm,
absolutely.
Say if I'm looking for a set of keys, I try and picture where I'll put those
Great.
keys.
That's a really good technique.
And I'll find that.
So visual, association, I'll put visual here. The last one is letters. Let's say you're trying to, I can't even spell tonight. Let's try again. Letters. So if you think about somebody's name, you might go through the alphabet and then M. It feels like M. And then for the second letter, you can go back through the alphabet again, and you can actually get a sense or a feeling. And what you're doing is you're using your unconscious mind and your feelings to actually get, what was the second letter? And then once you get a second letter, the name just might pop into your head. So that can actually work.
I'm just thinking, if you can't remember someone's name, give me a clue.
Yeah, well, if you see them across the way and you go, oh, who's ever thought, I know their name starts with M. Or no, it starts with R. So you actually get the first letter.
Yeah.
If you actually go through the letters in the alphabet for the second letter, sometimes it'll actually pop back into your mind. So it's a way to do it is just go, okay, is it A? Is it M-A? No. M-B? No, that doesn't make sense. And then go through and you get the right letter. Sometimes then that can spur your memory. So there's a few ways to do recall. And I should say revisit emotion. Revisit emotion. Okay, is this useful? Good? Some good information. So we've got preparation, we've got installation, and we've got recall, and that's how memory works. Now, we can either do this a little bit or we can do it a lot. And the more crazy you are with it, the more you can actually remember. Like I actually remember, I don't think too many people forget my seminars, do they? Because there's a lot of energy. Because what we do is we're constantly going into this early morning, like we do a bit of jumping and a bit of dancing and a bit of moving. And because there's a lot of energy in the room, because people are moving, we go into what's called an early learning state. We're using motion, which creates emotion. We're also using our imagination with some of the techniques that we do. And then there's a lot of this sort of stuff in it. And so what we're doing is we're taking people back to that early learning state so we can help them to retain the information that I'm then delivering so that people get the most out of the week or the weekend.